we're going to talk about pitching, specifically Randy Johnson. Specifically, no, not that time he made a bird explode. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up, and it will be one of the most amazing videos you've ever seen in your entire life.
It's like a magic trick. He said, look at this bird.
Disappear. And it looks like the bird legitimately exploded. All right.
The bird got in the way.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, and he didn't do it on purpose.
It's not like it was in a tree and he was like, hey, y'all think I can knock that bird out of the tree?
Yeah, no.
Can you imagine how many times would you have to throw a baseball? Even if there were birds flying all around you. Like, I'm going to peg this bird. Good luck.
Yeah.
200 times? A lot.
And I still, from the moment that it happened,
low.
Kevin, in that moment, it still looks like he just goes, oh, crap. You know, like, I had a good pitch right there. He's like, that was going to be a great slider, and I just blew up a bird.
Luckily, it was a spring training game, so hopefully it wasn't like too bent out of shape. But
now I'm one under.
That, because it was a birdie. I gotcha. Yes, I understand how your brain works now,
Mike, that was a good joke, dude. I'm proud of that one, man. Back to you,
because I supported his joke. But we're not actually talking about exploding birds. We're talking about different. Sorry if that surprises you, Corey.
Hey, birds.
Birds aren't real anyway. We're going to talk about something else that Randy Johnson said about the potential of pitchers and maybe losing an entire generation.
There was a piece that he did, and he was on with Odyssey. He was on the Brett Boone podcast. And can we all agree that Randy Johnson was one of the best pitchers of our generation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. He said the first quote in there was, it's not where the game is today, but as pitchers that played 26, 22 years in the majors, 4 in the minors, it's all I knew. It's all I wanted to do was go as deep in the game as I could. And it wasn't unheard of to throw 130 to 140 pitches. I might have 15 strikeouts in a game. I might have a high pitch count. But I always thought that the starting pitcher's job was to go as long and as far as he can on that day, and then 5 days later, do it again. But that's the quote that kind of sets that up, right? It's the next line that says, the biggest problem I have with it is that I don't think that pitchers today will ever realize how good they could have been if they were getting those extra 2 to 3 innings, because now you're not out there. Now you're not put out there. We played for Lou Piniella when I was pitching really good up there, and he became the manager. We kind of talked, and he said, if just be honest with me and tell me when you want to come out, because basically he was saying, I don't have anything better in the bullpen than you, so I'm going to ride that as far as I can. But from that perspective, Mike, he's saying pitchers won't find out how good they could have been because of those extra 2 innings. What I take from that is those extra 2 innings are probably where you're going to have struggles and really have to pitch to get out of it. You're going to have to do some things because now they're hitting the stuff that you've been doing for most of the game. You're like, oh, my sequences have been working. I got it all figured out. Now they have you figured out, and now you have to kind of go back at them. And that's where I think the starters learn how to get out of jams. Learn how to, you know what, I have this situation, but I do trust my infield. I do trust my outfield. And I think that's an important thing that pitchers don't really get anymore.
Yeah.
To how do I get out of this jam? I mean, think about Evaldi and how many times he got out of jams during the playoffs that you were like, oh my gosh, that's all on the line right now. And because he knew how to handle it, he did it almost to perfection. He was 5-0. Yeah, of course he did.
So I would say that Verlander, Max Scherzer, and Clayton Kershaw is the end of that breed that they were able to early on in their career. I'm not saying push for CGs. They were past that. Even during my time, if you look at the early 2000s, or I was drafted in 96, that was starting to weed out of the game. You have to go back. So obviously, like Ferguson Jenkins could throw 30 complete games in a season.
Yeah.
So it's doable. So the interesting thing, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, and the mindset too then was, if you don't, you maybe didn't really do your job that day.
Right. I mean, I remember Al Leiter telling me when I was with the Mets, you can complain, I'll take out cuss words, but you can complain about the bullpen blowing your win if you pitch 7 innings. But if you give them more than 6 outs, I really don't want to hear about your complaining. But we can complain together if our bullpen isn't holding leads and you only gave them 2 outs to go. Now, that was 2002. The game has completely changed from then. I think what's tough is, Corey, is they're teaching guys, they're teaching everybody. The first inning is the 9th inning. The second inning, if you make it to it, is the 9th inning. So I want you to pitch like a closer for as long as you can, which means you want to throw everything you got in the first 15 pitches, do it. Now, we were taught differently. What can we hold back? So the second time through the lineup, I remember watching Verlander, and I asked Nolan Ryan this in spring training when he was with the Rangers in 2011 or 2012. And I said, obviously I didn't get to watch your career early on with the Angels. I got to watch it late with Houston and then with Texas. And I said, I watched Justin Verlander, and he could throw 101 back then. And I said, did you hold back? Verlander would throw 94-ish, 95 to start the game. And then about the 4th inning, he would get close to 100. Yes. And then in the 6th inning, and I played with Bartolo Colon in Cleveland, and he would do that too. He'd start off a game at 92, 93. By the 3rd or 4th inning, when you're about ready to go through the lineup the second time, he was now in the 95 to 98 range. And then if he made it to the 7th or above, he would then start pumping in some 99s.
Yes.
But that was the way you were taught. Can you? And Nolan said,
because they get so used to seeing this early on, and then you're slowly building up, and they're like, come on, he just threw 100 miles an hour past me. How did he do that?
Yeah, this is a new pitcher, and it's the same guy. Is that they could do that. They were taught to do that. Now, which is weird, I'll pass it to you, Kevin. We've seen the human body do it. It'd be like somebody running the 4-minute mile or under the 4-minute mile and go, you should never try that with another human being. We're backing it off to you can only run this in 5 minutes. Anything getting close to 4 minutes, we're going to blow you up and destroy you, and we can't do it. And that's what we did with pitchers. I'm not saying most people will never be built like Nolan Ryan. But I bet there's been somebody since Nolan Ryan who's been built like Nolan Ryan that somehow, some way could throw 200 pitches on somewhat of a regular basis, but we don't even see if that human can accomplish those things. So we just hold, I think what Randy's saying is we hold everybody back from possibly the full potential that he was able to reach.
And I keep thinking about an analogy about the All-Star game for this is people are like, oh, nobody's competitive enough to do it. And then you see somebody like Anthony Edwards and you're like, maybe he is. And so that's what I wonder, if there's a mindset of pitchers coming up or their dad who helps them or whatever the case is, that you damn sure can do this. And then they push that mindset as like, hey, no, I can pitch into the 8th inning. I'm good.
Yeah, I think the stories, our favorite stories to tell about pitchers is, did you see that special day when he had a no-hitter or a perfect game or whatever it is? Like Greg Maddox's, 72 pitches that he threw?
Unbelievable.
Like 15 of them weren't strikes.
Shut your mouth.
He's like, hey, I really want to get to the golf course after this game. Let's get it over with quickly.
That's fair.
And I think that's the thing is you don't get to see a special, like Evaldi, what he did in 6 innings was special. We were happy that he was able to get through those moments, the big, tide that turns early in games, moments that you get into a jam and get out. But they're not as historic and recognizable as the no-hitters, and you don't even get that chance. Maybe you're there, but you're not going into it thinking that today I'm going to no-hit everybody. And I might do it 2 or 3 times this year.
And to that point, I'm not saying it wouldn't still be cool, but if you saw a 5-pitcher combo no-hitter, you'd be like, that was awesome. But I don't feel like you'd be living and dying on every pitch in the 9th.
Because you connect to that one guy.
Yes.
I hate saying it, but I don't care about combined no-hitters.
I don't either.
At all?
No.
Okay.
I don't even. I know it counts in the record books that's a no-hitter. It doesn't matter to me if the team did it. That's cool, but it doesn't matter. A no-hitter is when somebody does it, not a team does it.
Yeah, and to your point, like I still think I would be like, oh, that was neat. But if it's Jacob deGrom made his comeback and he's spinning a no-hitter in the 9th inning, I feel like I would be living or dying on every pitch regardless of what the score was.
Yeah, I'm connected to the pitcher and whatever his story, whatever his emotions. That dude must have been riding so many different emotions each inning, even to the point where he's not paying attention at some point. He's just kind of like, I'll get back out there, do my sequences again, and we'll go through it again.
To your point, I could be wrong in the history of baseball. Don Larson, I know, throws a perfect game in 56 in the World Series. And I know you have Roy Halladay throw a no-hitter, I believe, for the Phillies for the playoffs. And then Houston threw a combined no-hitter. I'm not trying to hate on Houston. This isn't, even if it was the Rangers, I'd be like, it's cool, but I don't think of that as like a no-hit, a playoff no-hitter. I'm like, no, somebody has to accomplish that. I've just always thought this was weird that we've decided, and I get pitch count matters, but sometimes we're all different, and sometimes a pitch count really does matter. I'll give to probably Jacob deGrom, a pitch count really matters to try to keep him healthy throughout a year. He's probably a guy when completely healthy, you're looking at 180 innings going, dude, do not push it more. But I'm throwing a person out there I don't know. Garrett Cole might be able to throw 250 innings in a season and come back and do it again. But you've already trained, like I talk about, I'm not a good horse. Like, I don't know horses well, but I do know.
I just want that one part, Alec.
I'm not a good horse, Mike
But
says.
I do know that a lot of times when I've watched the Kentucky Derby and they win the next one, is it the Preakness? And they get to the Belmont.
The Belmont's last
the Belmont,
one. Do we have
like,
it backwards?
It might be backwards, but they're like, I don't know, this horse might die. Because it's only trained to go so far, and that race is so much more. And so what we've done is, if you take pitchers as horses, we've only trained the horse pitcher to go 6 innings. We've only trained that horse to go approximately 100 pitches in high school, in college, in the minor leagues. And then when we get to the professional level, if you're like, dude, can we push him to 125? You never push that horse to 125. You've never pushed that horse to 1.5 miles. So you're probably going to kill the horse. So when a dude starts getting pushed and then he throws a no-hitter, I'll give an example. Reed, is it Detmers? He threw a no-hitter early on in his career. And then the next 3 starts were so bad they had to send him down to the minors. And it's like you never train that horse from age 14 to 22 to ever throw 9 innings, and it killed him.
And I think about, this is a different situation, but I think about Johan Santana. And I'm not saying throwing all all those pitches ended his career, but man, it did feel like there was a sharp drop off right after that.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy because he had such a dominating changeup. So if you don't know in Spanish, cambios, changeup. But that's why you thought he could last a long time. You know, we're going to get Jamie Moyer on tomorrow, by the way. So tomorrow, 10:45, we'll have on Jamie Moyer. Obviously, he was had a great changeup. A lot of times you think, well, they're going to pitch for a long time. Tom Glavine, 300 wins, mid to high 80s fastball with a great changeup. Great, perfect, I won't say perfect location, but some of the best location you'd ever see back then to get to 300 wins. But we've seen power pitchers. It's not just Nolan Ryan. That's the best example. But there's been Tom Seaver with him around the same era, was able to pitch from 67 to, I think, 89, maybe 88, but was able to pitch over 20 years, throwing a lot of innings at high velocity. So sometimes you'd say, well, high velocity now would cause you not to do it. But those guys threw as hard as the premium pitchers in today's game.
And that's where I run into the cautionary tales of why people don't do this. Because we brought up Santana. You were just talking about high velocity pitchers. Well, then let's go with Jacob deGrom. All right. Let's just take a snapshot of neither one of these players. They're not going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? Johan Santana in consecutive years, 7th Cy Young, 1st, 3rd, 1st, 5th, 3rd. So like unbelievable run. Jacob deGrom, 8th, 1st, 3rd, 9th. And the year he finished 3rd, I think, or maybe it was the year he finished 9th, he was going to win the Cy Young by the biggest, runaway in the history of the award. He didn't pitch the entire second half of the season and still finish top 10. Do you think pitchers look at Santana or deGrom and be like, yeah, because they overextended what they should actually be able to do, they're not going to have a Hall of Fame legacy?
I don't know if it's the players that come before that are coming after them. I think it's the organizations and the general managers that say, hey, I'd rather have 150 innings per year than 200 dominating possible Cy Young injuries. But it doesn't mean that works out either, because we would see a lot less injuries, right? We're limiting pitches. We're limiting innings pitched. We're trying to give them sometimes special off days. I remember my former teammate, CC Sabathia. Do you remember when he got traded to Milwaukee and he just went on a run? This is like 08 or 07, where he's just throwing complete game after complete game. Then he's like, just put me on short rest. We need to make the playoffs. And he throws like almost another complete game. Like, there was a stretch, if you went to game logs for CC, where he went to Randy Johnson mode, where he's like, I'm just going to throw a CG almost every game for my short time with the Milwaukee Brewers to get us into the playoffs. And his teammates are like, it's the greatest pitching performance I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not saying it wasn't great. It was, but you go back 10 years, 15, 30, 40 years, there were guys doing that. And it's interesting how we hold guys back and we just don't see. Now, you have to do it in the minor leagues. You have to see in the minor leagues. You go, hey, let's watch him. We're going to see when he starts fatiguing. We're going to see if, one, the radar gun goes down, but that might not be the best indicator. Maybe they are able to fight through that and throw the balls hard, but we can see the body language. We can see the body not working as well anymore. We can see it in his facial expressions that he looks like he's tiring and fatiguing. We're at pitch 117 in the 7th inning. And then we take him out of the game. And we see how he recovers from that. So if you're in Frisco, you're like, hey, we always have off days on Mondays, but let's see how he recovers from that. And if the next game he's horrible, it doesn't mean he can't do it. We're just like, what can we do differently to help him possibly be a 120 pitch pitcher per game? But we've decided, not we, us, but baseball has decided we're not going to even try to see who could be the next Randy Johnson or Nolan Ryan or Tom Seaver. And you can go down the list. Even if you didn't throw super hard, I know I loved him. Don Sutton, I don't think he threw super hard. He had good stuff. He's a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't Nolan Ryan. And he was able to pitch a lot of innings and figure out how to pitch.